Hello to Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. So this is going to be your 2023 yearly forecasting, Zodiac reading, however you want to kind of call it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to pull cards for each quarter of the year for you. So a quarter is 3 months. So January, February, March will be first quarter. So we're going to pull 4 cards, one for each quarter of the year. We're going to get that from our tarot deck of the Wild Unknown, and then we'll get a clarifying card with the Animal Spirit deck. But before all that, we're going to get kind of like your theme cards for the year. So we'll get one card from the Archetypes deck down here. That's going to be the overall major theme. And then how that energy is changing and transforming, we'll get that energy with the Alchemy deck here. This is a reading I do for myself every year on my birthday usually. Sometimes I'll do it at the beginning of the year as well. I did these readings last year for Zodiac signs, and they turned out really, really well. So I'm excited to share them with you today. We have the added addition of the Alchemy card this time, and I think it really helps finish out and round out the reading. So I'm really excited to get started today. So let us do that now. So let's get our cards out now. So get these guys out of the way over here. So I want to get the theme cards first. Okay. Archetypes deck for our Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, or whoever's watching this for Aries. The theme of the year is the fault line. Okay, cool. The deck does know this reading pretty well at this point now, so not a surprise on that one. Okay, so Aries, the main theme of your year for 2023 is going to be the fault line. An interesting energy. So let us get our Alchemy card now. So the Alchemy is all about change and transformation, how energy changes from one form into another. So Alchemy deck for Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. Anybody watching this video with Aries placements, with the fault line out, how is their energy changing through 2023? How is the energy changing and transforming for Aries through 2023? Get that out of my way. Oh. Okay. We will get that bottom card, the Uncreated. Oh, that's a card I haven't seen yet. Okay, and underneath, Peacock's Tail. Against Nature. You got some interesting energy going on this year, Aries. So this is the Uncreated. So here's a good close-up look at this card. So the difference in the two cards is really, really interesting here, Aries. So we got the fault line and the Uncreated, so the theme of the year, and then how that energy is changing and transforming for you through the year. So let's get a little bit deeper look first into these two cards, because they're the big theme energy, the big important energy to look at and pay attention to, and how all the other energy with our tarot and animal spirit cards is going to be defined within this like overall frame here, these archetypes specifically. So let's get a little bit closer look at these, okay? So my Aries, with these two energies, right? So our fault line over here, really, really talking about the cracks in the foundations here, the things that have the cracks in them that we haven't been maybe paying attention to, that had injuries sustained to them, damage sustained to them, but we didn't repair it at the time, right? The description of the book talks about the moment when the ice is breaking, those fault lines, those cracks in the ice, right? The pressure that things are under, and then these fault lines is what starts developing, right? So something in your life, Aries, these big things, right? Think tower energy in the tarot. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out with our cards actually. But think of things that are fragile, things that that's like a fight you had in a relationship maybe, or the like miscommunications that are happening in like your company, things like that, of that nature, right? Where you're like, you can see the cracks in the ship right before it's about to sink. And with this energy coming in here, it's going to be a turbulent energy for sure, Aries. It's an energy that is difficult to handle maybe in some ways, but you have forewarning for it, which is really, really good, right? So you can get off the sinking ship before it starts sinking. Really good energy here. But also in terms of energies of the fault line, these things cracking, right? The this only happens when the situation, the foundations we've set up for ourselves cannot withstand the pressure, right? So either we had faulty foundations in the first place, or we didn't build them strong enough now to handle the load that we are under. So it gives us the opportunity as these things crack to either repair the fault or to let the old situation fall down and crumble and then rebuild from there. So it's an opportunity to open up new things to yourself in the world, open up, have new opportunities. And that energy is really shown here with the uncreated. This is what the book describes as the seed before the seed, before the concept even comes about, before your favorite song is sung, before that painting is even painted, before that thing is even an idea, right? Everything stays in this space. Everything's part of this space to start with. And this is where all creativity comes from, where everything begins here. If we really look close at this card, right, the possibilities in this card, we have that kind of little like diamond-y thing in the center here, but we see this kind of rainbow and colors coming out. It's the energy before we get creative, that quiet place where you know things are possible, but you haven't come up with the idea yet, if that makes sense. It's a very specific space that I didn't actually have like words for until literally this card just now, because it feels like something's there, but you don't know what it is yet. You feel the possibility of something, but you don't have any definition to it. So with this energy tying in, right, this is our energy and how our energy is changing and transforming through, right? So with the fault line and how these two tie into each other, this is the cracks in your whatever situation this is, whatever big changes that are happening in your life, Aries, the cracks in it are leading to this uncreated energy, leading to these possibilities that you don't even really have an idea yet for. You know they're there. It's the feeling of possibility, the feeling of creation before it's created. And the cracks in other places in your life, if you look deeper into those cracks, into these fault lines, this is the energy that's there. This is the energy that's taking place, is what it feels like. So the energy here feels it feels like it can go in a couple different ways. It feels like it could be very destructive, chaotic, life-changing, and like it's going to be life-changing either way, it feels like, but it can come about quietly, and these quiet fissures and you opening them up and looking inside and moving through and taking things apart and finding this uncreated energy yet, the things that are still waiting to be created, or that destruction energy comes through and clears it out, right? And then as you're working through the rubble and clearing things out, that's where this comes in, the uncreated energy comes in. You're like, oh, that's what I was looking for. I couldn't find it because it was buried underneath everything that the fault line destroyed, or inside everything. You couldn't discover it until these fault lines appeared. Okay, so very interesting energy here, Aries, in terms of theme. I'm really curious to see what this means as we get into our tarot and animal spirit to break down the year a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna pull these up now, maybe even put them off. I think I'll probably need to put them off to the side. I'll have to see how the spread looks down here, but let's get a little bit more specifically into the year, break it down now by quarters. Okay, so we'll start with our tarot. Get that out of the way. Okay. So well known for my Aries Sun, Moon, Rising placements or major Aries placements, what energy is going to be present for the first quarter of their year, January, February, March? What is the main energy for the first quarter of their year? In regards to the fault line and the uncreated, what is the energy? Okay. How do you want that? Like that towards them? Okay, cool. Okay, Ace of Cups. That's good. That's a decent, good energy to start. Okay. What is the energy of their second quarter, please? Okay, thank you. The Emperor. Okay. Not a bad energy either. Okay. Temperance. Okay, and the fourth quarter energy, please. Fourth quarter. fourth quarter for Aries. Thank you. Okay, getting those back in. So let's get these up a little bit more. Okay. As this is a pretty decent spread so far, Aries. Pretty good considering the major themes here. So this was kind of confirming a little bit what I was saying here for the energy of the fault line and the uncreated being a little bit more subtle for you. So we have the Ace of Cups in the first quarter, the Emperor in the second quarter, Temperance in the third quarter, and then the Father of Pentacles in the fourth quarter. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So let us now get our clarifying cards. Okay, Animal Spirit deck. For my Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, or major Aries placements, anyone who's watching this, clarify the Ace of Cups for me in their first quarter of the year of 2023. First quarter of 2023, clarifying Ace of Cups, please. Okay, we will take the oyster. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Please clarify the Emperor in their second quarter. Clarification for the Emperor, please. Which one would you like? Okay, this one. Sea Serpent, okay. Okay, clarification for Temperance in the third quarter, please. Clarification for Temperance, please. Thank you. Okay, the Hawk. Double birds there, that's interesting. Okay. And then clarification for the Father of Pentacles in their fourth quarter, please. Thank you. Fire Ant. Okay, Aries, so interesting energies here. You got some big energy in the middle of the year for sure, just off the bat looking. So we got two major arcana in the middle of the year right there. Some water energy with our Sea Serpent, Oyster, and Ace of Cups. Okay. So for your first quarter here, Aries, right, we have the Ace of Cups with the Oyster. And what's really interesting here, just across the whole spread actually, is the theme cards coming out here are showing up in much more subtle ways, paying attention to the energies that are present, and it's popping up in different ways here, right? So it really feels like this energy is more towards the beginning of the year, this changing, moving through, and then this is kind of happening more towards the end of the year, just based off how the spread looks real quick. But with our Ace of Cups here for your first quarter, Aries, so January, February, March, we have the Ace of Cups clarified by the Oyster. Ace of Cups talking about a new opportunity presenting itself to you. Usually it's going to be in the realm of something kind of like emotional. So a lot of times this can be representative of love. If that's something that is present in your life that you're looking for, an opportunity where your cup is being offered to you, or you are offering your cup to somebody else, right? Clarified by the Oyster. And the Oyster here with the clarification for clarifying the Ace of Cups is really important, I feel, because the Oyster is what has that pearl in it, that hidden depth, right? That hidden energy inside of it. This is the uncreated energy, right? We don't know until we open up an oyster whether or not there is a pearl inside it. We know the idea of a pearl is there, but the pearl energy isn't even there sometimes. Like the oyster itself doesn't know that it's going to make a pearl when it happens, right? It's that sand, that grit, like that little bit of sand that gets in that the oyster is putting that pearl essence over and over and over again in order to help take care of the irritant. They're building this pearl, right? Building this secret offering which is what the oyster talks about, right? So really feels like there is an offering here. The oyster really encouraging you to open up, to offer yourself in this energy to whatever the situation may be. Maybe it's you're starting your life in a new way. It's like starting it in like somewhere new. So you're trying to open yourself up to new ideas, new possibilities. Maybe you are trying to do a new hobby or like pick up a new hobby, something like that, right? Where you have to offer yourself up into the situation, offer yourself up. So showing the opportunity, this is giving you the opportunity to be vulnerable, to give yourself an energy over to a situation in a very positive way, right? This didn't come in the reverse. This isn't the cup being poured out. This is an abundance of energy, an overabundance where you have so much to give, so much love, so much energy. And with this energy coming, right, it's being really offered freely and happily, and you showing yourself in a deeper way than maybe you had before. Think about the oyster and the energy of the oyster, right? And the oysters come out of the ocean, and the ocean is those deep depths of emotions. The ocean and water energy being tied to our emotions, ocean, emotion, right? And our Ace of Cups here tying in with the water element as well, and water being that energy of emotions and feeling. So heavy water energy here in the first quarter of your year, Aries. Funny for a fire sign for sure, of course, but we all need that in order to be balanced. And the idea and concept of balance is really actually super present in your reading as well. So you balancing out your energy as a fire sign, getting more water energy in, balancing your turbulent emotions you may have sometimes, right? By showing vulnerability, showing these internal hidden things of yourself, the oyster, that pearl inside the oyster. And really diving into this uncreated energy, this energy of creation before it's creation, right? The unlimitless possibilities and opportunities, which is also this Ace of Cups energy here, okay? So really interesting energy for the beginning of your year of 2023. It's probably present now in the ending now of 2022. You kind of maybe have an idea of this energy showing up, or the opportunities are starting to present themselves, or you're like mulling over the possibilities that have been presented. So as you're moving in and potentially choosing some of these options and choosing where to give yourself, where to give your energy in a very happy, positive way, but by showing vulnerability and really showing the core of who you are almost, right? The deep internal depths of yourself, that pearl energy here, okay? Moving into your second quarter energy, we have the Emperor clarified by the Sea Serpent. And this is where I was talking about that balance energy, right? Our Emperor being very high energy, masculine card, being the father figure in the tarot, in the major arcana. The father energy and that stability and sometimes rigidity, like being rigid, depending if it's more in its like negative form, right? That kind of shadow form of it, but being that stable father figure, that parental energy. But it's balanced here by the Sea Serpent, which is more of a mothering, nurturing energy. And what it feels like here, right, is after showing vulnerability here in the first quarter, right, really presenting this self, we're trying to balance it a little bit more by being strong and assertive, but in a different way. It's assertive with a more feminine energy approach, a softer approach, right? There's many different ways to be strong, many different ways to show strength. And with the Emperor here, right, we're really trying to show stability and strength here, but also keeping in mind the vulnerability and the emotions that were around and present in our first quarter here with the Sea Serpent. Sea Serpent really tying into our second chakra. This is one of the spirit cards in the Animal Spirit deck. There are 7 of them to match with each of the 7 major chakras. And the second chakra are really talking about the sensuality. It is our sacral chakra. That's where the creative energy comes in. Again, our uncreated energy up here as well, right? That creation energy, and that creation energy tying very heavily into more feminine energy. And being balanced out here, these are both very positive forms of the Emperor and the Sea Serpent, the masculine energy and the feminine energy. So really working with both of those energies here, having this balance, right? So your balance, it's 2023 for you, Aries, really feels like an opportunity to balance a lot of energy for yourself. The cracks, the faults that you maybe were perceiving in your old energy and the way things were before, right? Too much fire energy, maybe you being too much in that fire Aries energy and really heavily into maybe some of the more aggressive, rigid energies before, and try now to balance it out, swing the pendulum a little bit more the other way with more emotion and vulnerability, while still seeing it as a strength here, seeing it as a way to take care of others, to protect others, which is this Emperor energy here, right? It's only those who know their own emotions and can control those emotions in a healthy, positive way so they don't end up blowing up later, right? That's a very strong, positive energy, a fatherly energy that can take care of others in a very healthy way. Balanced very well with the Sea Serpent energy here, really knowing who you are at the core, knowing who you are to perceive the world in a better way, right? And look at our Sea Serpent here with the kind of like eye in the middle. That's almost that oyster right here. That's that pearl in the middle of the oyster. So that's very interesting energy here as you're moving in through the second quarter of your year of 2023, Aries. So this is January, February, March, April, May, and June here. So going into that summer towards the end of the year, okay, or middle of the year, I mean. So moving into our third quarter now. So we have Temperance clarified by the hawk. And this is the ultimate like balancing of those energies, right? So our Temperance, our herring here, balancing the fire and the water elements in the card. Clarified by our hawk energy. Like, let's get a really good look at this card here. Oh, there we go, focused in. So yeah, balancing that, the water and the fire at the same time, the masculine and the feminine, really bringing everything back into balance, into a temperance energy, an energy that's like, okay, hey, I see how things can be. I'm really trying to figure this, bring in all this creative energy, this figure out new ways to be creative, figure out new ways to change and move my energy, and really taking a bird's eye perspective on it in the third quarter here. So July, August, September, for the third quarter of 2023, we have the hawk clarifying our Temperance card here, and the hawk really talking about that, again, that bird's eye perspective, that bird's eye view, heavy in the way we are heavily perceiving things, really looking at things with a fine eye for detail, going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, right? And if we're working with energy of Temperance, really trying to balance everything, that's going to be super important, right? And with that perception energy, this is where we're finding those faults potentially that we maybe didn't know about. We're going through, digging through our foundations, every little piece, right? Where if you think about it in terms like of a house, right? You're inspecting every little corner and every little bit of the house, every corner, every room, maybe lifting up carpets, moving furniture around, looking for weak points in the house, because it's going to be very important for your continued balance and balancing out this, keeping everything balanced with Temperance, right? So we're looking through the house and making sure there are no cracks in the foundation, or if we are finding those cracks, then we're going to start doing something about them. We're going to pay attention to those because it's going to be very, very important, and making sure everything stays balanced in the long run. So really overall, so far, Aries, the year is really, really solid for you. It's the major themes here are much more subtle than I was thinking when I first started here. I got a little bit more to talk about here with the third quarter, but then we'll go into the fourth quarter here is when we're going to start seeing a little bit more of this fault line energy take place, or that's where it's showing up a little bit more. But for our third quarter here to kind of finish out, right? So this hawk energy, really being able to perceive things that you maybe didn't before, right? You have all this new perspective that you maybe didn't have as well. You've been learning these lessons over here with our Ace of Cups and Oyster, and the Emperor with the Sea Serpent. So really coming into emotions and perceiving emotions and understanding emotions in a very structured and positive way that you didn't maybe have before. And that's what this hawk energy, hawks also like herald a new time. Sometimes that's part of their symbology, that's like heralding a new time, bringing in new energy, perceiving new energy because they have a different perspective. It's showing a whole new perspective. And you're integrating that perspective here with our temperance energy as well. And really, it's interesting, so much fire and water, right? You have so much fire energy yourself, Aries, but with so much water present here to help balance you out. And temperance really helping this energy solidify. And also in terms of masculine and feminine energy, right? We have our emperor with our sea serpents, masculine energy, feminine energy, and those really trying to balance out as well. Making sure, and that is the emperor energy would be more the fire energy, the sea serpent here would be more of the water energy, and both of those are showing up in temperance here. So again, really coming into figuring out what balance means to you and how to balance everything out. So then moving into our final quarter here, we have the Father of Pentacles with the fire ants. And Father of Pentacles also ties in heavily with our emperor energy. All the fathers are one part energy-wise of the emperor itself. So Father of Pentacles more tying in with Pentacles being our physical reality, our career, our home life, our money, those kinds of aspects of physical reality here. And Father of Pentacles, seeing over again, being that stability energy, being somebody who is entrepreneurial, who can build things really, really well. But with our fire ant energy, there's some irritation that's happening here, right? So where we maybe finally, after looking at everything with a bird's eye view, really with a very discerning eye from Hawk, we're finding where these fault lines actually are in our life. And what it feels like too is these, of course, with fault lines, they're always there. Once things are put under pressure, that's where we find these weak points, where these weak points develop, or they've always been there, but where they actually start developing their cracks once they're put under pressure, right? So with you discovering new things about yourself here, Aries, learning new things that you didn't maybe know before, there comes different pressures that you maybe didn't realize before, or with the situation at hand, this, how do I want to say this? The change of, it's not so much the change of perspective, but with the change of perspective is not bad, but with the change of perspective also comes new lessons that are going to prove the challenge part, show where these fault lines actually are. So you come into a new understanding of things, like you've leveled up here. So then the new challenges come about that weren't there before, right? All of a sudden this uncreated energy is showing up here where it's like, okay, hey, you didn't even think some of these things were possible. The things that are going to come about for your next lessons, the new challenges that you have, that you're prepared for, that you've learned how to cope and handle. We're never given more than we can handle at any time, but it can be difficult, of course, sometimes. But that is where this energy of the fault line starts really showing up here with our Father of Pentacles and the fire ant towards the end of the year here for October, November, December. A fire ant energy being a fire energy, and you think about fire ants, right, and that biting, and that's that irritation, that like you think about like that ants in your pants, right, that like the heebie-jeeb, like you're like irritated and things are like bubbly and like icky, kind of icky here, right? And this Father of Pentacles energy turns into an energy that's a little bit more strict, a little bit more rigid, that kind of more shadowy energy sometimes that can be present with the Father of Pentacles, but it's not in the reverse, so that's good. That's a good thing here. With the Father of Pentacles, if it had come in reverse, I'd be saying that like this is when we're not willing to make changes and do things, but the Father of Pentacles is staying in the upright here, and it's a very positive, strong energy in this case. But it is being clarified by the fire ants, which is where we're trying to figure out where we're kind of being tested a little bit, is almost what it feels like at the end of the year here, Aries. It's like, okay, you've learned all these things, you have all this good energy, you're balanced, right? But we're going to put some irritations in your way here. We're going to turn up the heat a little bit. We're going to put a little bit more stress on you to make sure that you can handle it in the ways that you've been taught, and making sure that there aren't any other fault lines that you haven't dealt with, right? So in this case, what it really feels like, Aries, despite the fact that this on its own, your theme card of the fault line is a really more of a destructive card and can be seen as a very difficult card to work through in terms of archetypes, you are actually preventing a lot of these fault lines from opening up and swallowing you whole before they could like get to that point, right? You really actually have the opportunity. The universe here in your fourth quarter at the end of 2023 is really giving you the opportunity, putting you under a little bit of stress and irritation here to make sure that you either fixed all the fault lines that were already existed, or that there are not new ones that are going to develop, right? Testing your foundations again, testing to make sure that your foundations are strong in your quote unquote house again, right? Because you took the time with the third quarter here to really make sure everything was balanced, looking everything, taking a fine-tooth comb to everything, making sure there aren't any weak spots here. So then the universe is kind of coming in here, what it feels like in the fourth quarter of your 2023, to just test that and make sure everything is as it should be, right? And giving you the opportunity. It's like, okay, hey, we're not going to create anything before without realizing it. We're paying attention to everything and taking the faulty foundation down before it could fall apart right here. That's also our Emperor energy, our Father of Pentacles energy, that really handy energy that is that fast, positive, what's the right word here again? The handiness almost of that father energy of the Emperor, of our Father of Pentacles. The like, okay, here we're going to fix the foundation of the house, right? You think of the handiness that like a quote unquote father has, and so you've been doing that. You've been making sure everything is taken care of, is being prepared. The fault line also did talk about the Japanese art. I can't remember what it's called. I have to look it up. Or when things like crack, right, and refilling it. Fixing the cracks with gold, so then everything ends up more beautiful, celebrating the cracks with beauty, and that you fix that energy of healing versus just letting things fall apart, right? And that's kind of really the energy that is taking place in your 2023 here, Aries. A very interesting spread for you here, for sure, Aries. I really didn't expect when I looked at the fault line first for this to be your year, but it's a really good year. It's a really good year, actually, and a really positive year. So overall, in terms of wrapping up here, okay, so expect a lot of emotion and feeling that kind of happened in the beginning of the year here. Offering yourself to a new situation, being vulnerable, opening up, showing that hidden treasure inside with the pearl here, the energy that is being created now, moving out of this uncreated energy into the actual creation energy. And then after that, into the second quarter here, really trying to balance things out, being strong in a way that you maybe didn't realize you could be before, still in masculine strength, but really balanced out with more feminine energy, being in tune with those emotions that you had in the first quarter here, starting to integrate them together, realizing that balance is good and really paying attention to those. So you're realizing here in the second quarter what sides of each you have, what is on this side more masculine energy, what side's on this more feminine energy, balancing it out, realizing that both are good to have, and just identifying where those energies are in your life here, right? Bringing this uncreated into the created again. Into the third quarter, really now balancing them out, integrating them together, going through everything in your life with a fine-tuned comb now, with that new perspective you have, balancing everything out in your life in every capacity. So looking at everything as deep as possible, really diving into the depths of the oceans that you've already explored over here with our temperance energy, really getting down to the nitty-gritty of everything with our hawk energy, clarifying temperance here, and finding those little details, minute details that you maybe were missing before, preparing for our last quarter here, where you're really staying into this positive masculine energy, and as you're being tested and making sure that there aren't any fault lines that you haven't already dealt with here, knowing that the fault lines that have been present here were put under pressure from before to really show you how to come into this new energy here, Aries. And at the end of the year here, making sure that you did take care of them, did fix any fault lines you did have, or you took down the house that was built on these fault lines so you could build the house on sturdier foundations at the end of the day. Or if you needed to, you just let the fault line take care of it and built something else somewhere else, okay? If that makes sense anyway. So Aries, that is your energy for 2023. This reading is good to come back to throughout the year. I usually refer to mine as the new quarter comes about, so I can kind of look at the energies around and prepare for the next quarter, just kind of knowing, again, there's free will in every situation, so this isn't an energy that it's just an overarching energy. It's not a super detailed energy. Just kind of know that this might be what's kind of taking place around you at the time. These are the bigger overarching themes, the bigger overarching energy around you as you're kind of, and what lessons you may be learning in terms of this year specifically and how this progresses, okay? But you do have free will in the situation, of course, so this can affect you very differently depending on how the situation progresses, or it might not be the energy specifically for you. That might be in one of your other zodiac signs specifically. It depends on what you feel called to do. If this resonated with you, then maybe it's for you, okay? So hopefully this resonates though, and hopefully it makes sense. I hope you have a wonderful 2023, and I will see you in the next reading. Bye.